Good morning. I got to tell you, I'm kind of ashamed of what my country, America, is doing to Cuba. For months, Cuba has been the target of an American blockade on everything from oil to medicines to everything. Nothing's going into Cuba, and that is causing some real problems. They have no electricity. They have no gas. And if you don't have gas, you can't do things. Of course, you can't travel anywhere in a car, but you also can't have garbage trucks pick up garbage. And if you don't have the garbage trucks pick up the garbage, what happens is it piles up in the street. And of course, it causes disease, and it's going to make a lot of people very sick very quickly. And so they're going to be ill, and a lot of people may die. They have no electricity. With no electricity, when the sun goes down, it is dark in Cuba, unless you have flashlights and batteries. Oh my God, man, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And you know what? Everybody has forgotten about Cuba. Well, not everybody, but you know what I mean. Now we got a war going. We got gasoline prices going up. We've got people getting laid off because corporations have decided they want to use AI. There's a myriad of problems. And so Cuba kind of gets forgotten on the back burner. But, this whole thing is a reprisal, I think, for what Cuba did many, many years ago. Let me give you a little history lesson. Starting very early in the 30s, 40s, more and more American corporations were going into Cuba. United Fruit Company, a lot of sugar companies were there. I'm not going to name names. There were, as a matter of fact, an American corporation was running their telephone company. Okay? Now, I think everyone kind of knows, if you've been in America, how corporations treat the citizens of whatever country they're in, including America. Yes, they treated them the same way. So American corporations were getting rich off of Cuba, and the Cuban people were not receiving any of the benefits of that. Okay? So, and that was, at that time, the country was ruled by a guy named Batista. Mr. Batista was propped up by the United States, and they liked him because he let these corporations do whatever they want. As a matter of fact, it was so corrupt, as far as I'm concerned, the mafia was running gambling casinos in Cuba when they couldn't even do it in the United States. Okay? So Batista's helping the United States corporations suck all the wealth out of Cuba. And then came along this guy named Fidel Castro, and he was a communist. So he was saying, if I can take over this country and get rid of Batista to the people, we're going to share everything. Now, I'm not going to argue the benefits of communism over capitalism, none of that stuff. But the people in Cuba were kind of sick of what was happening at the time, so they said, okay, Mr. Castro, we'll help you get into power. And he got into power. Okay? And from then on, because he was a communist, and at the time, we had the Cold War going, communism was, that was a bad thing. And any government is a bad thing if it's run by people. And of course, they're run by people, because people are petty little greedy fucks, excuse my French, and they screw up everything they get involved in. Okay? So communism, great idea. Everybody shares. People get in it. That's the end of that. I think we know what's happening with corporations in the United States. Greedy people. What are the people getting right now? Screwed. Okay, so now, at the time that Mr. Castro came into power, and just before it, people who were helping Batista and the Americans, savage the Cuban economy and suck it dry. Those people said, "Ooh, we better get out of here because if we don't, there are going to be reprisals against us, and they're liable to kill us because of what we were doing." So, a bunch of Cubans left, went to the United States. Okay. For years, ever since then, these Cuban Americans have been pissed because they were living the high life and they had to come to America. Okay. So, and when they came to America, they brought what they could bring, but they basically lost that, I guess what I would call it, that status of being, helping the Americans and getting the benefit of it. Well, fast forward to today, and guess what? We have a guy who's in charge of our policy to Cuba, and his name is, I don't think I can say it because, let's call him Marco Polo. So Mr. Marco Polo, his parents were one of the ones who had to flee. And to this day, these Cuban Americans have wanted revenge on the communist government because they lost what they lost. They want revenge. That's what it is. They want revenge. They're not going to go back to Cuba, and they're not going to free anybody in Cuba. They want revenge. I don't know how this has lasted this long, the need for revenge through multiple generations, but it has. Now, so we have an administration that when they were campaigning said, "We're going to fix this problem for you Cubans who are living here in the United States, and we are going to punish Cuba." Now remember, we've been punishing them since 1959, okay, when Castro took over. But they say, "We're going to punish Cuba." Okay. And the Cubans, they're singing and dancing down there going, "We're going to help elect this man, and we're going to punish the communists." Unfortunately, to punish the communists, you have to punish the entire population, according to Marco Polo, who is blockading everything coming into Cuba, or trying to come into Cuba. So you know what? I'm ashamed of what America is doing, but Cuban Americans need to be really ashamed. They do. They need to be really ashamed because they are willing to get their revenge at the expense of all of the Cuban people who right now are suffering with no electricity, food shortages, about to get diseased out of existence. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad. Now, if I were the Cuban Americans, I would start thinking about this. Oh, you know what happened to the Cuban Americans too? The same person who said, "We are going to help you. We are going to help you get revenge. And we're not going to bother your people as long as you're here, okay?" They got fooled, didn't they? Now they're on TV doing the FAFOs crying, saying, "Well, we didn't know he was going to kick us out of the country." Yeah, well, that's what happens when you deal with someone who's untrustworthy. But you didn't see it, did you? Because you were so blinded with your need for revenge. Well, now you're FAing and FOing at the expense of the people of the country of your birth. Congratulations.